Once upon an August day, inside the London Zoo, there lived a hippopotamus. His name, VanTongerloo's. That afternoon, he had a dream while sleeping in his cage. And if you want to hear it, you must simply turn the page. A giant orange tulip was dangling from the sky. VanTongerloo grabbed onto it, and it pulled him 8 miles high, up to a paisley cloud, where he heard a swooshing sound. A zillion colored envelopes were falling to the ground. A yellow one then landed, directly on his snout. Quite suddenly it opened and a juggler popped out. "My name is Pear Shapes," said the man, "and fun is what I'm into. Let me take you places that I'm sure you've never been to." "Woohoo!" exclaimed VanTongerloo, decidedly excited. "I've never seen the world," said he. "Thank you for inviting me." "Prepare for an adventure, then. And let's hope it doesn't rain," said Pear Shapes as they took off in his bright kaleidoplane. They soared above great cities and over hillsides of green grass, flying till they realized they were running out of gas. As night descended swiftly, much like a theater curtain, VanTongerloo asked where they were, but Pear Shapes wasn't certain. "I think we're somewhere south of somewhere west of somewhere east," said Pear Shapes, sure that they were somewhere at the very least. A shivery wind whipped wildly along the twisted road, but luckily at gallop came a horse named a la mode. The horse neighed, "Climb aboard, lads, such little time remains. And whatever else you do, remember, hold tight to the reins." Pear Shapes held the reins so tight, he almost got a blister, and a la mode came through and flew them far from that mean twister. Then a la mode told Pear Shapes, "I must be home by dawn, so no one at the carousel will notice I've been gone." At once, a double-decker bus made its scheduled stop. Pear Shapes found a seat below, VanTongerloo up top. "All aboard!" the driver roared. "Next stop, the land of clocks. We'll be there in 2 minutes. It's just a few more blocks." Once they reached the city and the town's grand clock was spotted, Pear Shapes said, "Let's climb it." VanTongerloo just nodded. With one spin of the second hand, they hurtled back in time and landed in a castle circa 1649. Looking out from Gothic windows, both of them espied a watercolor playground with a giant flower slide. Smiles wide, they rode the slide till unexpectedly the earth beneath them parted, and they fell deliciously into a glass of chocolate milk that a thirsty man was drinking. "Oh no," VanTongerloo cried out, "I fear I might be sinking." Pear Shapes said, "We must escape," and he was rarely cautious. Besides, the taste of chocolate was making them both nauseous. And when another sip occurred, just as Pear Shapes feared, it spun them round and sucked them down until they disappeared. Boy, this dream was getting weird. Minutes passed when at long last, Pear Shapes re-emerged, where children played and fountains sprayed. But VanTongerloo, where had he strayed? The last he knew, VanTongerloo was spinning right behind him. Somehow, some way, right now, today, he had to go and find him. Just then an old man in a boat said, "Let me recommend. You come aboard our little ship. We'll help you find your friend." Slowly floating downstream, Pear-Shapes called his name. "VanTongerloo! VanTongerloo!" Alas, no answer came. He came across two baseball players practicing their craft. "Have you seen a hippo?" "Not recently," they laughed. Though Pear-Shapes hadn't found him yet, he still retained his hope, for further down the river was a man on a tightrope who said he'd heard a rumor that a hippo had been seen standing in a bathtub and smelling rather clean. It was true. VanTongerloo had turned up suddenly in the home of someone known as Sir Foggy Bottomley. Sir Foggy's house was miles away, so Pear-Shapes had to hurry. A cyclist offered him a ride and told him not to worry. But Pear-Shapes was impatient, and he made a different plan. He'd fly off to VanTongerloo upon his favorite crown. Finally, in Foggy's parlor, they were reunited, but didn't have a lot of time to truly get excited. For just beneath the window shade, they spotted Foggy lurking, then climbing through it stealthily, because the doorknob wasn't working. VanTongerloo was so distressed he almost felt like fainting when Pear-Shapes told him, "Hurry up! Let's jump inside a painting." As Foggy Bottom searched for them, their one choice was to freeze, even though VanTongerloo was trying not to sneeze. When Foggy finally left the room, and safety was no issue, VanTongerloo asked Pear-Shapes if he had an extra tissue. "My friend," said Pear-Shapes urgently, "we really must be going. We have to make the party Princess Jenna-Flower's throwing." While drummers drummed and strummers strummed and trumpets blared aloud, Pear-Shapes and VanTongerloo saw friends among the crowd. There was a la mode and the acrobat and the very thirsty man, while the watercolor children flew on Pear-Shapes' favorite crayon. Some people from the land of clocks had all arrived on time, but the old man in the rowboat lagged some 50 feet behind. The baseball players came by air, following their game, having finally filled the gas tank of the bright kaleidoplane. And underneath the tulip stood Sir Foggy Bottomley, while the cyclist was beamed in via satellite TV. Pear-Shapes and VanTongerloo were having lots of fun at Jenna-Flower's skating rink on tops that tightly spun. All in all, they had a ball till VanTongerloo confessed to feeling somewhat tired and desiring a rest. But suddenly, he felt a shoe. "VanTongerloo, wake up!" It was the zookeep who declared, "It's time for you to sup." Again the zookeep nudged him, his job to be persistent. "Come on, VT, I must insist. You wake this very instant." With grumbles, groans, and hippo snorts, and not a few huge sighs, VanTongerloo turned over and opened up his eyes.